What's up, you guys? Today we're going to talk about the upcoming market crash. Is it actually going to happen? What will be the signs of it happening? And what is it going to take for the market to actually crash? I'm Kampmann Realtor for the Denver metro area. When you are thinking of a move to the Mile High City or one of the amazing suburbs around Denver, hit me up at the information on the screen. Call, text, email. I'd be happy to answer your questions and get you set up for success on your move in and around Denver. As much as I love making these videos, showing you guys around town and educating you about what is happening in the Denver market, I love helping people find that perfect home and get them moved in and set up for success here in Denver. So hit me up, call, text, email. Okay, so first question is, why hasn't the market crashed already? We've seen an astronomical rise in prices, followed by a crazy rise in interest rates that has slowed down the market, but we haven't seen prices crash back down to pre-pandemic levels. Number one reason that we haven't seen a large crash is supply versus demand. So the inventory levels of homes that are for sale here in the Denver metro area has not yet exceeded the demand for housing. Let's just take into account some quick facts and figures here from these past couple of years, and then compare that to the last normal cycle of the real estate market that we had that was before 2020 in 2019. So let's just take June, for example. In the Denver metro area, across all the counties and suburbs that are kind of encompassed in that Denver metro bubble, there was about 6,100 homes that were for sale in the month of June. Now, if you go back just a couple of years to 2021, when we were in the frenzy of the real estate market, inventory levels for that month were around 3,100. So we had about half the amount of homes that were for sale in 2021 than we do today in 2023. That's why you're seeing homes sit on the market maybe a little bit longer, 2 to 3 weeks, instead of 2 to 3 days that we were seeing in 2021. We had more demand back then and even less supply. So even if you had a doghouse and even if it wasn't anything special, you were probably getting multiple offers on the property. Now, in our current environment with the higher interest rates, we are seeing a reduction in demand, but it hasn't gone away. We are still seeing a lot of people move to the Denver metro area, which has made prices remain stable. Now, 6,100 homes for sale in the month of June of this year. Let's compare that to back before 2020 and 2019. We had over 9,000 homes for sale in the month of June. So we are still very low inventory compared to the amount of demand that's out there, even though we have seen a slight pullback in demand. Let's say interest rates continue to rise. We see 8, 9, and 10% interest rates. I don't think it's possible that we get quite that high, but that's still not going to cause the real estate market to crash. When we're talking crash, we're talking 20%, 25% or more reduction in the price of homes, going back to maybe levels that we haven't seen since 2017, 2018. For that to happen, one very specific thing needs to happen in the economy, and that has to be that we have a drastic rise in inventory and a drastic reduction in the demand for housing. So let's talk first about demand for housing. Are we going to see a reduction in the demand of housing going forward? In 2008, when we had the financial crisis and the real estate market got hit the hardest, and we saw the biggest drastic drop in home prices, home builders went to the sidelines. So they stopped building homes at the rate that they were building homes. Back in 2004, 2005, we were seeing as many as 1 million homes being built per year across the nation. When the financial crisis happened and the bottom fell out of kind of the mortgage industry and all the things started happening, builders got scared and went to the sidelines and stopped building houses. And they didn't come back for quite some time. So there was a drastic reduction in the amount of houses that were built during this time, from 2012 even all the way up till 2018 and 19. So we're somewhere around 5 million homes short of where we should be when we factor in the population growth that the United States has had during that time. So if you factor in that we're 5 million homes short of where we should be for population growth, you can see why demand for housing is so high. We have so many more people living here now. We have people moving not only into the U.S. from other countries, but into the city of Denver. So it's caused the demand for housing to go way up. The other part of demand is we're seeing that the millennial generation, the largest generation currently in America, is entering that first-time home buying window. They are coming of age to buy their first home. The average home buyer right now in America is 33 years old. And over the next 3 years, we are going to see the largest portion of the millennial generation age into that 33, 34, and 35 age bracket for buying their first home. So we are actually going to probably see an increase in demand for housing over the next couple of years as those people come into the home buying window. So if demand is going to stay high, the only way you can combat that and get home prices to come down is with a drastic increase in inventory. Now, you can only build homes at such a rate when you factor in all the things that go into building a home. One, finding the land, purchasing the land, getting permits from the government to build the homes, having homes constructed, having all the labor. Constructing homes is very labor intensive. It takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months on average to construct a home, and the builders are just not being able to keep up with demand of new home developments. So where else are we going to get inventory? Well, if we see a flood of people come into the market and sell their homes, that would solve the inventory problem. We have seen that home sellers are reluctant to sell their home if they have a very low interest rate, if the home still works for them. Many homeowners, when surveyed, said they would enjoy maybe a larger home or a different size or a different type of home, but they don't want to give up the 3% interest rate when the home is meeting most of their needs. They don't want to go out and pay a significantly higher payment just to get maybe one or two things on their wish list. The only way we see a flood of homes hit the market and people actually put their homes up for sale is if we see a drastic rise in unemployment. If we see massive layoffs across the board and people are no longer able to make their mortgage payment, they will choose to list the home. Most homeowners in America have significant equity in their homes, so they're not in danger of foreclosure. They can actually list the home, come out with profits on the home, and be able to make a move to a cheaper area, maybe rent for a couple of years till their employment situation steadies and they're able to gain employment again and get back on their feet. So the only way we see probably a drastic flood of inventory hit the market is if we see a drastic rise in unemployment. Now, what does this mean for Denver? Well, let's examine some of our primary employers through the state of Colorado and identify if we think that there is going to be a significant rise in unemployment. All right, number one employer in the state of Colorado is the federal government. That may come as a surprise to some of you, but the federal government has a lot of institutions here in Colorado, and there are a lot of employees of the federal government here. Not only all the military bases that are located within Colorado, but the U.S. Mint and several other government agencies and organizations do have significant headquarters here in Colorado. There are a lot of people employed by the federal government here. Employer number two is actually the state government. So when you factor in each city, county, municipality, all the schools that are under kind of the umbrella of government employment, that makes up the second largest employer in the state of Colorado. Being a former government employee myself, it is a very steady job. There's not a lot of volatility in the government employment sector. People may not make quite what they could make in the private sector, but it is very steady, very stable, and very predictable income. So unless we see massive layoffs coming from the top two employers in the state, we probably won't see a drastic rise in unemployment. What are some of the other employers here in the state of Colorado? Well, number three is the healthcare sector. So when you factor in UC Health, SCL Health, Centura, and Kaiser, these different healthcare institutions employ a lot of people. Doctors, nurses, administrative people, lab techs, all of those make up the third largest employer in the state of Colorado. So do we see healthcare taking a significant decline over the next few years? I don't think so. People still are in need of healthcare. Americans are very unhealthy, unfortunately, so we're going to need healthcare a lot going forward. So top three, I don't think we're going to see a drastic change from that. When we get to the other employers that still have a large sector of the people that are employed in Colorado, we may see the chance that there are some layoffs in those sectors. We have corporations like the Ball Corporation, Lockheed Martin, who runs kind of the space and aerospace sector, employs a lot of people, especially in kind of the South Metro area that I live in. We have the financial sector like Western Union has headquarters here, as well as Wells Fargo. So there are significant banking institutions and other private sector companies that do employ a lot of people in Colorado. We also have tech companies like Comcast, CenturyLink, Dish Network has their headquarters here in Colorado. So what I'm trying to get at with listing a few of these different companies and a few of the different sectors is that Colorado is actually a very diverse economy. So if one sector does take a hit, like let's say the financial sector took a hit in Western Union and maybe even some portions of the Ball Corporation and Wells Fargo had significant layoffs going forward of the next year. Would that be enough to cause a collapse in the housing market? Well, no, just because they do employ a lot of people, but it's not a large enough percentage of the overall residents here in Colorado to have that type of effect. So since we are a very diverse economy, having healthcare, government jobs, financial sector, tech sector, and we didn't even get into the energy with oil, gas, and Excel and natural gas drilling here in the Colorado area, we have a lot of diversity when it comes to the economic stability of the Denver metro area. So I don't see a high probability of the housing market crashing, because the only thing that will cause a significant crash in the housing market where we see prices decline by 20-25% would be a huge spike in unemployment, where people are no longer able to pay their mortgage payments and they take the equity that they have in their house and put it on the market. Many Americans have a very strong equity position. They are not in danger of losing the home to foreclosure. If they were to lose their job, become unemployed, not able to make their mortgage payments going forward, they could put the home on the market, sell the home, walk away with some equity. Maybe that turns into they buy a cheaper home. Maybe it turns into they decide to rent for a year or two, or maybe they examine different job opportunities around the country and they make a move out of state. The point we're trying to get to here is it's very unlikely that we see a significant housing crash in the Denver metro area. One, because unemployment is so low, the economy is very diverse locally, and we just don't have the inventory levels to warrant a crash when demand is so high. What do you guys think? Do you disagree? Do you see something different happening in the years to come? Whether that's an increase in inventory, a huge reduction in the demand on housing? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, like, subscribe, share this video, and hit me up at the information on your screen when you need real estate help in the Denver metro area.